George Russell's second-place finish at the Bahrain Grand Prix wasn't just a podium. It was a full display of mental resilience, driving intelligence, and raw grit under pressure. What we witnessed that evening wasn't simply a Mercedes driver defending his position. It was a young man fighting on multiple fronts, a car glitching beneath him, a rapid McLaren hunting him down, and a strategy that teetered on the edge of risk and reward. And yet, through it all, George held on. He didn't just survive, he drove a masterclass in control, in adaptation, and in belief. It's performances like this that remind us why we love Formula One. Not just for the speed, but for the human stories beating beneath the surface. Let's break it down. Because the story of Russell's race is more than the sum of its sectors and lap times. It's a detailed web of strategy, technology, and human improvisation, something that many won't realize by just glancing at the final result. From the outset, Mercedes knew they had a narrow window of opportunity. This was a two-stop race on a surface that had shown signs of brutal tire wear all through testing and early sessions. Russell started on softs, a compound aimed at extracting early performance, banking track position, and building a gap before degradation would force the first pit stop. The plan? Go soft, medium soft. It was a calculated decision, especially considering Mercedes' own extensive research on the C1 hard tire during preseason. That compound had failed to impress. Not enough grip, not enough pace, and not enough of a degradation advantage to make it worth the trade-off. So when Mercedes entered this race, they knew the hard tire was essentially off the table unless a situation absolutely demanded it. That mindset would come back into focus later. Russell's race began smoothly enough. He held his own, kept the tires alive, and maintained a competitive rhythm. But everything changed when the safety car was deployed midway through the race, a moment that would throw a wrench into the carefully constructed plans of several teams. Now, for most casual fans, a safety car might seem like a simple pause in the action, a chance to save time during a pit stop. But in Russell's case, it forced a strategic compromise that would shape the rest of his race. The timing of the safety car was just slightly too early. Mercedes hadn't yet reached the optimal lap for their final stop. But the golden rule in F1 is, when a safety car is out, you pit if you can, because it can save you up to 10 seconds compared to a stop under green flag conditions. 10 seconds in Formula One is an eternity. Mercedes had to react. The dilemma? Russell had no new medium tires left in his allocation. He'd already used them earlier in the weekend. That left them with two choices: a worn set of softs that had already seen action during qualifying, or a fresh set of hard tires they'd already written off as too slow. A risky 20-plus lap run on used softs, or a long stint on tires they didn't trust. Ultimately, the team went with the softs. Russell himself would later call the move audacious. And he was right. It was a bold gamble. They knew it would leave him vulnerable at the end of the race. The only hope was that the track position advantage gained by stopping under the safety car would be enough to build a buffer before the tire degradation became too extreme. But just as the race resumed, the variables multiplied. Charles Leclerc, behind Russell, was fitted with hard tires, and McLaren's Lando Norris, lurking just behind, had a fresh set of mediums that gave him a perfect blend of durability and pace for the final stint. In theory, Norris had the tire advantage, but in practice, that would only matter if he could get through Leclerc quickly. And he did. By lap 52 of 57, Norris had cleared the Ferrari and was bearing down on Russell. At that point, it was a straight-up fight between two British stars, one in a McLaren, the other in a Mercedes. Both supremely talented, both desperate to start their season with momentum. But what we didn't see on the timing screens was the chaos unfolding inside Russell's car. It's here that the story takes a deeper turn, one that shows us just how much Russell was battling beyond what we could see. A flurry of technical issues began to strike his car in quick succession. First, the transponder failed, the system that tells the team and the broadcasters where the car is on track. Suddenly, Russell disappeared from live telemetry. For a moment, Mercedes didn't know exactly where he was in relation to Norris. Then came the dashboard blackout. Essential functions like gear indicators and shift lights, tools that modern drivers depend on, began to fade. But perhaps the most critical failure was the car's brake-by-wire system. In modern F1 cars, the braking is a delicate balance between hydraulic and electric systems. When brake-by-wire fails, or partially fails, the rear brakes don't behave normally. You lose the regenerative braking from the MGUK, and the balance between front and rear brakes becomes erratic. Russell described the feeling later The pedal was hard at one corner and would be going to the floor on the next. I had no way of knowing as I approached the corner what I was going to get. Imagine braking into a 200 miles per hour corner, not knowing whether the car will slow as expected or shoot you off the track. That's not just physically demanding, it's mentally exhausting. And to top it off, the DRS system, normally armed automatically when a car is within 1 second of the car ahead in a DRS zone, had to be activated manually. The same went for resetting the brake system. And Russell only had one backup button on the steering wheel to do multiple functions. At one point, Russell pressed the button believing it was activating the team radio. Instead, it armed the DRS outside of the permitted zone. Realizing the mistake immediately, Russell backed off, deactivating it in less than a second and ensuring no performance advantage was gained. But it was a telling moment. With so many systems in passive mode, he was juggling more than just a race. He was juggling the very functionality of the car. And yet, through all this, he held off Norris. Lap after lap, corner after corner, Russell managed to fend off the medium tire McLaren despite the Mercedes essentially being in limp mode. No brake consistency, no auto DRS, intermittent dashboard info, no reliable comms. A team in the dark on his exact position, a rival with more grip, and a car firing on all cylinders. And somehow, Russell made it to the flag in second place. Why does this matter? Why should we care beyond just the points? Because it reminds us of the human element in this sport. Yes, Formula One is about technology and engineering. But when the tech fails, when the systems collapse, it's the driver who carries the weight. And George Russell proved, without question, that he has the mental capacity, the physical discipline, and the racing heart to handle all of it. For Mercedes, it was more than just a good result. It was proof that under pressure, their driver can extract the absolute maximum from a flawed situation. For McLaren, there were still positives. Norris was quick, composed, and his pass on Leclerc showed real racecraft. But they'll be disappointed to have come so close, only to fall short. That disappointment, though, is a signal that they're genuinely back in the fight. And that's huge for Formula One. And for us, the fans, especially those who watch closely, who listen deeply, this was a golden moment. A reminder that sometimes the best stories are not in the victory, but in the survival. In the races that almost fell apart. In the drivers who find a way to hold it all together when no one else could. George Russell didn't win that night, but in many ways, he showed us more than any winner could. He gave us a reason to watch, a reason to admire, a reason to come back for more. And that's why we're here. Not just to report results, but to uncover the layers. To show you the story behind the stats, the emotion behind the engineering, the courage behind the cockpit. Hello, McLaren faithfuls. Stand a chance of winning $1,000 by hitting that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe so you never miss any McLaren and F1 updates with relaxing ASMR elements. McLaren Faithful's YouTube channel is now covered in English and multiple languages. Your support is what keeps this incredible community growing stronger every day. It costs you nothing to like and subscribe, but it helps the channel tremendously. Let's continue the conversation and share our passion for McLaren and F1 together. As a YouTube member, you can also discover my journey as a passionate creator navigating life with challenging disabilities. Despite the obstacles, I'm determined to follow my dreams and share my love for McLaren and F1 with the world. By becoming a YouTube member, you'll not only be supporting my dream, but you'll also gain access to exclusive content, including untold stories of legendary F1 drivers and much more. Your support can truly make a difference in my life, helping me continue to do what I love. Join McLaren Faithful's membership below and enjoy.